Welcome to the dark side of psychology. Did you know that around 4% of the population has psychopathic tendencies? That's 1 in every 25 people. Dark psychology isn't just for movies and thrillers. It's real and it's all around us. In this video, we'll dive deep into the secrets of mind control. We'll explore subtle manipulation tactics, the power of suggestion, and emotional puppetry. You'll learn how gaslighters make you doubt your own mind and how cult leaders gain absolute control. We'll even uncover the digital mind games played on social media. Imagine knowing the hidden tricks used by manipulators. Think about how powerful you'd feel with that knowledge. Are you ready to unveil these secrets? Stay with us as we uncover the dark arts of psychology and arm you with the tools to defend your mind. 1. The allure of dark psychology. Why are we so fascinated by dark psychology? It's because it taps into our deepest fears and desires. Imagine understanding the hidden motives behind people's actions. It feels powerful, right? But there's more to it than just curiosity. Dark psychology offers a glimpse into the dark side of human nature. Dr. Philip Zimbardo, known for the Stanford Prison Experiment, once said, "We all have the capacity for evil." This idea both terrifies and intrigues us. It's like watching a car crash. We can't look away. Our brains are wired to be curious about the unknown, especially when it's dangerous. Interestingly, a study by the University of British Columbia found that people with dark personality traits are more successful in certain fields. These traits include narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. It's not about endorsing these traits but understanding how they work. Dark psychology shows us how easily our minds can be influenced. Think about the last time you made a decision. Was it entirely yours? Or were you subtly influenced by someone else? Advertisers use these tactics all the time. They know how to tap into our subconscious. In relationships, dark psychology can be devastating. Manipulators use it to control and dominate. Recognizing these tactics is the first step to protecting yourself. It's like having a shield against mind games. 2. Subtle manipulation tactics. Manipulation often starts subtly. It's not always obvious. Let's dive into some covert techniques used by manipulators. One common method is mirroring. This is when someone mimics your behavior to build rapport. It creates a false sense of trust. A study in the Journal of Nonverbal Behavior found that mirroring increases likability. But when used manipulatively, it's a tool for control. Another tactic is playing the victim. Manipulators use this to gain sympathy and control the narrative. Dr. George Simon, an expert in manipulation, says, "Manipulators often play the victim role to mislead and exploit your good nature. This makes you feel responsible for their well-being. Over time, you become more susceptible to their influence." Gaslighting is another subtle tactic. It's a form of psychological abuse where the manipulator makes you doubt your reality. Over time, you start questioning your sanity. It's a powerful way to gain control. In the workplace, manipulators might use flattery to influence decisions. A study by the University of Toronto found that flattery can increase compliance. It's hard to resist compliments, but they can be a manipulator's weapon. Understanding these tactics helps you see through the manipulation. It's like having X-ray vision for mind games. The more you know, the less likely you are to fall victim to these tactics. 3. The power of suggestion. The power of suggestion is a fascinating concept. Our minds are incredibly suggestible. Even simple suggestions can shape our thoughts and actions. Think about how often you hear phrases like, "You're tired," or "You're hungry." These suggestions can trigger actual feelings. Dr. Irving Kirsch, a psychologist, conducted studies on the placebo effect. He found that our beliefs can significantly influence our physical state. This is the power of suggestion at work. It's why advertisements often use subtle cues to influence our choices. In one experiment, participants were told that a certain drink would make them feel more energetic. Most reported feeling a boost, even though the drink was just water. This shows how powerful our mind can be when influenced by suggestions. Hypnotists use this power to great effect. They can plant suggestions in the subconscious mind. These suggestions can lead to changes in behavior and perceptions. It's like hacking the brain's operating system. In everyday life, we are bombarded with suggestions. Social media, news outlets, and even friends and family influence our thoughts. Recognizing these influences is crucial. It helps you regain control over your own mind. 4. Emotional puppetry. Emotional manipulation, or emotional puppetry, is about controlling someone's feelings to influence their actions. It's like pulling the strings of a puppet. One common tactic is guilt tripping. Manipulators make you feel guilty to get what they want. A study by the American Psychological Association found that guilt can be a powerful motivator. But when used manipulatively, it's a tool for control. Another tactic is love bombing. This involves overwhelming someone with affection and attention. Love bombing creates a dependency. You start craving the attention and will do anything to keep it. But once the manipulator has you hooked, they often withdraw the affection, leaving you desperate and confused. Emotional manipulators also use fear. They might threaten to leave or harm themselves to get their way. It's a way to keep you on edge and under their control. This constant fear can be exhausting and damaging. Dr. Robert Hare, an expert on psychopathy, says, psychopaths use emotional manipulation to charm, intimidate, and control. Understanding these tactics can help you recognize when someone is trying to pull your strings. Recognizing emotional puppetry is the first step to breaking free. It's about taking back control and not letting someone else dictate your emotions. 5. The art of gaslighting. Gaslighting is a sinister form of psychological manipulation. It involves making someone doubt their reality. The term comes from the 1944 film, Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife into thinking she's losing her mind. This tactic is extremely effective and dangerous. Gaslighters use lies and denial to confuse their victims. They might say, "I never said that," or "You're imagining things." Over time, the victim starts to question their memory and perception. According to Dr. Robin Stern, author of The Gaslight Effect, this tactic can erode self-esteem and sanity. A 2020 study by the National Domestic Violence Hotline found that 73% of victims reported experiencing gaslighting. It's a common tactic in abusive relationships. The gaslighter's goal is to control the victim by making them dependent and confused. Gaslighting can happen in workplaces too. Bosses might use it to undermine employees and maintain power. For instance, they may deny giving certain instructions or blame mistakes on the employee's poor memory. This creates a toxic environment where the victim feels incompetent. Recognizing gaslighting is crucial. Keep a journal of events to track what really happens. This can help you see the pattern of manipulation. Surround yourself with supportive people who can validate your experiences. Trusting your instincts is key. 6. The seductive charm of the psychopath. Psychopaths are often charming and charismatic. They use their charm to manipulate and control others. Dr. Robert Hare, who created the psychopathy checklist, notes that psychopaths can be extremely likable at first. They know how to make you feel special. A study by the University of Oxford found that people with high levels of psychopathy are often successful in business. Their charm and confidence can be compelling. However, beneath the charm lies a lack of empathy and remorse. Psychopaths are skilled at reading people and exploiting their weaknesses. One tactic they use is flattery. They shower you with compliments to lower your guard. Once you're hooked, they start to manipulate you. Another tactic is mirroring. Psychopaths mimic your behavior and interests to create a false sense of connection. This makes you feel understood and valued. Psychopaths also use lies and deceit. They are experts at lying and can do it without guilt. They might fabricate stories to gain your trust or sympathy. Over time, their lies can control your perceptions and actions. Protecting yourself from psychopaths involves setting boundaries. Don't be swayed by flattery or charm. Pay attention to actions, not just words. If someone's behavior seems too good to be true, it probably is. 7. The science of mind hacking. Mind hacking involves using psychological techniques to influence and control behavior. It's like hacking a computer but with the human brain. Advertisers and marketers use these techniques to influence consumer behavior. They tap into our emotions and subconscious to drive decisions. One common technique is using scarcity. Advertisers create a sense of urgency by saying, "limited time offer." This triggers a fear of missing out, FOMO, making us more likely to buy. A study by the University of Southern California found that scarcity increases perceived value. Another technique is social proof. We're more likely to do something if we see others doing it. Marketers use testimonials and reviews to create this effect. Seeing others endorse a product makes us trust it more. Dr. Robert Cialdini, in his book, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, explains how social proof can sway our decisions. Neuromarketing is another mind-hacking tool. It involves studying brain activity to understand consumer behavior. Companies use this data to create more effective ads. For instance, they might design ads that trigger positive emotions or memories. Understanding these techniques can help you make more conscious decisions. Next time you see an ad, think about the psychology behind it. Are you being influenced by scarcity or social proof? Recognizing these tactics gives you the power to resist manipulation. 8. Subliminal persuasion. Subliminal persuasion involves sending hidden messages to influence behavior. These messages are below our conscious awareness but can still affect us. Advertisers and media often use subliminal messages to influence our choices without us realizing it. In 1957, market researcher James Vickery claimed that flashing "eat popcorn" and "drink Coca-Cola" during a movie increased sales. Although his experiment was later debunked, it sparked interest in subliminal persuasion. The idea is that our brains can process these hidden messages and act on them. A study by the University of Utrecht found that subliminal messages can influence our preferences. Participants exposed to subliminal images of brands were more likely to choose those brands later. This shows that subliminal messages can affect our decisions without us being aware. Music and movies often use subliminal messages too. Certain songs might contain backward messages, and some films have hidden images. These techniques aim to influence our thoughts and emotions subtly. To protect yourself from subliminal persuasion, be aware of your surroundings. Pay attention to the media you consume and be critical of the messages. Understanding how subliminal messages work helps you recognize when you're being influenced. 9. The dark side of social influence. Social influence is powerful. It shapes our thoughts, behaviors, and even beliefs. But it can also be used to control and manipulate. Take, for instance, peer pressure. It's a common form of social influence that can push us to act against our better judgment. A study by the University of Chicago found that social influence can affect our perception of reality. When people were shown false information endorsed by others, they were more likely to believe it. This shows how easily our minds can be swayed by the opinions of others. Another form of social influence is authority. We are conditioned to obey authority figures. The famous Milgram experiment demonstrated this. Participants were willing to administer painful electric shocks to others simply because an authority figure told them to. Social media amplifies social influence. Likes, shares, and comments can shape our opinions and behaviors. Dr. Brian Primack, a researcher at the University of Pittsburgh, found that social media can significantly impact mental health and self-esteem. It's a double-edged sword, offering both connection and manipulation. 10. The psychology of cult leaders. Cult leaders are master manipulators. They use psychological tactics to gain absolute control over their followers. One common tactic is creating a sense of belonging. Cult leaders often offer love and acceptance to attract vulnerable individuals. A study by the University of California found that people who feel isolated are more likely to join cults. Cult leaders exploit this need for connection. They make followers feel special and chosen. This creates a strong emotional bond that's hard to break. Another tactic is thought reform, also known as brainwashing. Cult leaders use repetitive messaging and isolation to break down individual identity. This makes it easier to instill new beliefs and behaviors. Dr. Margaret Singer, an expert on cults, explains that thought reform involves 6 conditions, including controlling the person's environment and manipulating rewards and punishments. Fear is also a powerful tool for cult leaders. They often use threats of harm or ostracism to maintain control. By creating an us versus them mentality, they isolate followers from outside influence. This makes it harder for individuals to leave the cult. 11. Digital mind games. In today's digital age, mind control has gone high-tech. Digital mind games use technology to influence our thoughts and behaviors. One common method is through targeted ads. These ads use data from our online activities to create personalized messages that are hard to ignore. A study by the Pew Research Center found that 72% of people feel that ads follow them online. This feeling isn't just paranoia. Companies track our online behavior to serve ads tailored to our interests. This can influence our purchasing decisions and even our opinions. Social media platforms also use algorithms to keep us engaged. These algorithms show us content that aligns with our existing beliefs, creating echo chambers. This can reinforce biases and make it harder to see other perspectives. Dr. Eli Pariser, in his book, The Filter Bubble, discusses how this can distort our view of the world. Another digital mind game is the use of bots and fake accounts. These can spread misinformation and manipulate public opinion. During the 2016 U.S. elections, bots were used extensively to influence voters. A study by the University of Southern California found that 15% of Twitter accounts were bots.